Now, Washington Mornings on the Mall.
105.9 FM.
At AM 630.
WMAL.
8:37 on WMAL, where Washington comes to talk. Brian Wilson, Brian Neiman. We're joined today by Larry O'Connor. We got another Larry on the phone.
Yeah, you guys are in for it now. Finally, we draw the line here, Brian.
That's right. The Larrys are going to gang up on the Bryans.
It's like a war contest.
Larry Kudlow is on the line now, of course, from CNBC. How are you, Larry?
Good, thanks. How are you?
All right, so we want to talk about this upcoming debate. I guess it's tomorrow night. We got the vice presidential debate, Paul Ryan versus by Joe Biden. Gosh, I'm just like down for my vice president. I just want to forget about it, but I just can't. So, how you know a little bit about Mr. Ryan? What's your assessment of it?
Oh, he'll be ready. He'll be totally ready, and he'll be very effective, and he'll be in command. I mean, if Biden attacks him on various parts of the Ryan budget or entitlement reform, you can bet Ryan's going to be ready. You can bet Ryan's going to be ready on tax reform. You can just bet he'll be ready. And I want to say one other thing. Ryan's a young guy. I mean, he's, 42?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to make for a very positive contrast. And I think youth will be served. And I think Paul Ryan is going to help Romney really close the gap among younger voters.
I agree there, because I think that was an issue in the last election when you had Barack Obama and John McCain up there on the stage together. On the Paul Ryan will be ready front, though. The one thing always concerns me about Ryan is that he knows his budget and he knows his numbers, but he's playing with Romney's set of numbers now, and we don't have all the greatest amount of detail on Romney's numbers. Does it concern you?
No. I mean, their budgets are pretty similar, and Ryan was really one of the architects of the Romney plan and vice versa. So, no, it doesn't bother me at all. I mean, you're not going to get into budget account by account.
Well, no, but here's what I think will happen, because when President Obama tried to do this to Mitt Romney and he was able to kind of parry it off, is he's going to say, well, if you want to lower the rates and take away deductions and take away credits, what are those credits? What are those deductions you're going to take away?
Well,
and they really haven't had a strong answer on that to this point.
Well, I don't know. I mean, this BS about the big lie, the Obama team is calling Romney a liar. Can you imagine that after 67 million people saw Romney perform brilliantly and take a lead now of whatever? He's turned around 5 or 8 points, and all he's saying is, we're going to lower your marginal tax rates in order to create incentives to grow, and that's the best way to balance the budget. And by the way, I don't have a $5 trillion plan because I'm going to hold back tax deductions, and everything's on the table. I mean, I don't care how many, there's a story in the front of Investors Business Daily today. It's very interesting. Obama is the only player in Washington that wants to raise taxes. I mean, not even the Brookings Institute disagrees with the idea of lowering tax rates and taking away deductions or limiting deductions. I mean, this is like almost a consensus view. And Romney and Obama and Biden are just off there in left field Biden's so happy with his $1 trillion tax hike. I mean, I think Ryan's going to make mincemeat out of him on that. Absolute mincemeat.
Well, isn't the president really vulnerable?
Taxes by $1 trillion right now with this economy?
Isn't the president also really vulnerable on this, because he himself in 2010, right after the 2010 midterm elections, he went out there and said the last thing we want to do is bring back the Bush or repeal the Bush tax cuts now, because it would be the worst thing in the economy. Is the economy that much better now?
No, economy's worse. I mean, the numbers are worse, and I'd love for them to open up that front. And look where it got Obama in those debates. I mean, Romney made it so clear that this $5 trillion tax cut number for rich is bogus. It's a bogus number. And you got all these economists, including now, I noticed Brookings took back a lot of their original criticism by saying that they did not include various deductions for upper income payers, including, by the way, the state and local tax deduction. That's one that they're going to go after, as well as the mortgage deduction, to put limits on what they can get. This is not rocket science stuff. People don't want to raise taxes right now. They hate the tax code. So if Biden goes after it, and I can just see Ryan saying, well, you're so proud of your $1 trillion tax hike, you're going to wreck the economy. It's bad enough we got a fiscal cliff coming with a $500 billion tax hike that CBO says is going to push us into recession. I mean, basic point is Ryan's going to have a field day on this stuff. But I want to come back to this other thing. You're going to see these two guys, and I happen to like Joe Biden personally.
Yeah.
Like almost everybody.
He's a likable fellow. There's no doubt.
Right. If he tries to bully Ryan, he's going to be in a lot of trouble because Ryan is accustomed to this criticism. But the main thing is youth will be served. Mark my words. It's going to be a very positive youth contrast with Paul Ryan. And I think that's one of the little hidden gems here that hasn't been properly evaluated with. Obama's going to lose a lot of his margins on young people.
All right, let me ask you this. You mentioned the bogus numbers. A lot of people had concerns about the jobless number that came out the other day. It lowered to 7.8%, finally below 8%. I think that the number probably there are safeguards to make sure these numbers are not messed with.
Right.
But I've never really liked that number anyway because it doesn't really reflect truth.
Well, I don't know. All I'll say is there is no political interference with the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
I agree.
Period. End of sentence.
But, I mean, does this number really get at where we are in America?
Donald Trump, these guys do not. I was there. I worked in OMB. I know how these numbers work. Now, the 850,000 increase in household survey, that may be off. Okay, there's seasonal adjustments. There's seasonal adjustment problems with teachers in the last couple of months. So that number may be substantially revised, and the number of the unemployment rate may be substantially revised when it's released again on November 2nd, okay? And those numbers are constantly revised. It's very important to realize that. In the long run, they work out pretty well. In the short run, month to month, you get a lot of revisions. I wouldn't fret over it. I don't think it's that important, by the way. I don't think it's changed any perception in the polls where Romney's bulge is being dominated by his debate performance, where people finally got a chance to see the guy, and he's a good guy and a smart guy. So no, I don't know if those numbers they're probably going to be revised. But the idea of political tampering bothers me, because once you go down that road, if people start saying all government stats are tampered by the White House, you got yourself a real problem. You got yourself a chaotic problem here. And there is a certain amount of integrity. There's a lot of integrity. And I can just tell you that those numbers are as good as they are at the time the numbers come in and the surveys and models are completed. And then the next month you'll see revisions, and the month after that. And that's really all there is to it.
And we could see a revision on November 2nd.
You could. And the revisions may be downward, so the unemployment rate may slip up a little bit. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Larry,
I just don't like the idea of blaming everything in life on politics. It just bothers me. It's this kind of Weltanschauung, this sort of evil Weltanschauung that goes on.
Wow, I have to look that one up, Larry.
That's a word I know. I gotta go look.
I like Weltanschauung with a little side of sauerkraut and some mustard is good. I like that.
Larry, it's always a pleasure to have you on.
Weltanschauung, it's a great word.
All right, well, thank you, Larry. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Larry.